Alvarez and Marsal, and I will pass that over to them to do a quick introduction as well.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ben. I'm an analyst here with Alvarez and Marsal, and it's good to be on with you all.
Thanks, Ben. Will Shivani also be joining?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, perfect. So we'll have a few other team members from the A&M team, who again is in partnership with us at the Division of Developmental Disabilities. And if you wouldn't mind, if you're comfortable, if you could please share with us your first name, the town that you reside in, as well as your role as part of the conversation today. You can do that in the chat. It's helpful to know who we're visiting with today. So if you're comfortable with that, please go ahead and start entering that within the chat itself. As I had indicated, today we are very excited to be able to share updates about Agency with Choice and our search for a new provider. So today we're going to share with you how you can learn more and also how you can partner with us in the most immediate coming steps and long-term as well. We will also have an opportunity to hear your questions and for you to share any ideas with us as well. So as always, through this transition, our goal has been to minimize disruption for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities and their families. Again, working to provide a stable and reliable service that meets people's assessed needs. And so we're very optimistic that we're going to continue to meet that goal with the updates that we're sharing today as well. So with that, and thank you so much. I see people starting to enter information in the chat. Thank you, thank you. With that, we are going to share next an opportunity for you to ask any questions in an anonymous way. So if you have questions, you can submit them through this Menti poll. And so you can go to menti.com and use the code on the screen. Or if you have a smartphone, you can open up your camera app and hover over that QR code and it will take you right there. This is an opportunity for us throughout the conversation today for you to be entering questions, and then we will take certain points in time to pause and answer any questions that might come in. So this is kind of a rolling process throughout the conversation. So again, please feel free to enter any questions that you have, and you can do that in an anonymous way through the Menti app. And again, if you are just joining us, you'll see other folks in the conversation entering their first name, the town, and their role in the conversation. You'll see that in the chat as well. So thank you so much for doing that. So again, why we're here today is to share really exciting and important updates that we have around Agency with Choice. And so with that, wanted to level set a little bit. Why are we here? How did we get here? And essentially, Agency with Choice is one way that people receiving Family Support 360 services manage their supports. And so the Agency with Choice program is changing in 2024. And so this change applies to you if you are enrolled in Family Support 360 through the waiver, and you're receiving services through LifeQuest, Dakota Milestone, Volunteers of America, LifeScape, or Center for Independence. So there are these 5 providers, and they've indicated that they're going to stop providing services, and specifically just the Agency with Choice service. So they're not planning to end other services that they might deliver, like family support coordination. So essentially, since that time, we've been working to explore ways that we could sustain Agency with Choice in South Dakota. And so since March or so, we've been working to share information as we have it. And today, again, very exciting, very important update to pass along today. So since we last visited in a recent town hall, there's one change that you'll notice in the far right box around LifeQuest. So originally they were planning to end their contract at the end of August, specifically August 31st. trying to work to ensure we have a very smooth transition for participants and their families. LifeQuest is actually going to be ending their contract on the 24th of August instead. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that, but that's intentional in order to, again, ensure a smooth transition as we move to our new vendor for agency with choice services.
Some pass.
Just a reminder, we are hearing some conversations and feedback. If you wouldn't mind placing your line on mute, that would be wonderful. Thank you so much. So as I was saying, the other 4 providers haven't adjusted their timeframes, and so we will continue with updates as we get through the LifeQuest transition. Again, our priority at this point is really individuals impacted by the LifeQuest change. And so we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about the entire transition, but really focusing today's conversation around individuals impacted by the changes with the LifeQuest contract and anybody who is new to services or doesn't currently have an agency with choice vendor. So with that, you might be wondering why it's taken so long. And essentially, there's a lot of steps that we've had to move forward with in order to get where we are today. So you'll notice there's a lot of green check marks since we last visited with you in a town hall. That shows all the good work that's been done in partnership with many of you. We are still on the update the waiver. So we did just complete the public comment period last week. The waiver then has been submitted. So we're at the last point of that bullet, which is the CMS approval. So they are working to review it. And again, they have typically a 90-day review window. So that's the time frame that we are working within around the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. Once that item is completed, then we'll work to sign up new providers and get approval for the waiver and the funding components that go with those approved waiver changes. And so again, we do now have a signed contract with a new vendor. And so we're going to be talking a little bit more about that. And the vendor is here as well to help us walk through some of what we can expect there. So again, the public comment process requires a 30-day public comment period. That ended last week on June 26th. As part of the public comment period, we did host several town hall meetings, and we also received written comments. So overall, we received over 30 comments and questions. We added all of those to the waiver, and we also made changes based off of that feedback. And so specifically, we added a note in the waiver that an exceptions process around the wage range would be developed. And so that specifically came from feedback from provider or from stakeholders in the public comment period. So very excited to have that milestone completed. As part of that, you'll also find that we in the division gathered all the public comment and also responded to that in the waiver, but also we posted a document on our website. And so you can find that here in the link. And I think that Ben will likely put that in the chat for us as well. Thanks, Ben, if you want to go and review that. You'll note too, there's a personal message from me specifically around the feedback and that we appreciate all of your involvement in that. So thank you so much for providing the feedback with us. So as I indicated, we have recently signed a contract, and so our new vendor is going to be Consumer Direct Care Network. And so they're going to be providing agency with choice. And they're also going to eventually be moving into common law services. So right now, Acumen is going to continue to provide that service. And when Consumer Direct is ready to move into also offering that, the division will share more information on that process as well as enrollment as well. But today we're really talking about agency with choice, and our partners from Consumer Direct are here with us today as well.
Hello, everyone. Oh, go ahead, Joey.
I was just gonna say, so with that, I wanted to turn it over to our partners at Consumer Direct South Dakota, Janessa, Megan, and Maxine. So thanks, Janessa.
Thanks, Joey. My name is Janessa Mosley. I'll be the state director for South Dakota, and we are super excited to be partnering and providing services in South Dakota. I just wanted to share a little bit about who is Consumer Direct, just being new to South Dakota, and show a little bit of our experience around the country. So, we believe we are a very trusted partner, and we've been in this business for over 30 years and have done a lot of great things to make sure that you all get the best experience possible while getting support for your in home needs. So, can you switch that slide, please? Thank you. What's most important is our mission, vision, and values. We simply just want to provide the best care and support that we can to people in their homes and communities and support them to live the life that they want. And our values are respect, integrity, service, and excellence. Our customer service is a very participant facing customer service, and we want to make sure that we can meet people at their level of ability in all that we do. We're a collaborative partner with interested parties. We've developed reliable and easy to use technology and have longstanding and stable leadership teams. We have established an office in South Dakota and are working on staffing up with local folks across South Dakota so we can deliver high quality and responsive customer service. Our service delivery experience includes urban and rural communities, and we have tools that have been designed specifically for agency with choice or self-direction. We started about 30 years ago, so we're headquartered in Montana, and began providing supports, and we have since expanded to 14 different states across the United States, serving just under 90,000 participants, and we support 112 caregivers to provide that care around the country.
Thanks, Janessa. Next, we wanted to share just a little bit about what you can expect from the transition and specifically what that transition plan is going to entail. And so essentially by the end of the year, everyone who is currently receiving agency with choice services today will be able to sign up with Consumer Direct. However, the first group to sign up are individuals that currently have agency with choice services with LifeQuest. You'll continue to receive services through LifeQuest through that time frame of August. And then we will share more information today around specific or some tentative timeframes that we have in mind. In addition to individuals with LifeQuest, if you're new to Family Support 360 or do not yet have an agency with choice vendor, you're also included in this first group. So again, the enrollment for this first group for Consumer Direct starts already on July 22nd. Outside of this first group, there is a second group that you will sign up later. And so again, as we get further into the transition process, the division will share more information at that point. But you're in the second group if you are affiliated with Lifescape, Center for Independence, Dakota Milestones, and Volunteers of America. So for that group, you'll continue to receive those agency with choice services now through those current providers. And again, we're going to share more information as we have it on the timeline for the second group to sign up. In addition, the second group will include common law options through Consumer Direct. And so we will continue again to share additional information on that second group. Today, the first group is the top priority. And again, you're in the first group if you're currently receiving agency with choice through LifeQuest, or if you're new to Family Support 360 and don't yet have an agency with choice vendor. So a little bit more about what we can expect from a particular timeline. So we have been working to establish a pilot. So a small group of people have been identified to help test out the Consumer Direct South Dakota sign-up process. And that pilot is already going to begin on July 15th. And then right after that, Consumer Direct South Dakota is going to begin enrolling. And again, people who will be able to enroll as of July 22nd are people with LifeQuest and folks that are new to Family Support 360 who don't yet have an agency with choice vendor. So they're going to be able to sign up starting July 22nd. Then some other important timeframes to just be aware of if you are receiving services with LifeQuest. So again, services with LifeQuest are going to end on August 24th, and this is the last day that people can manage their workers through LifeQuest. So since those services are ending at LifeQuest on August 24th, the Consumer Direct South Dakota services will begin the very next day on August 25th. Again, this is the first day that people using Consumer Direct Agency with Choice will manage their workers through Consumer Direct South Dakota. Another important timeline is around that final approval of time cards through LifeQuest. We have an estimated time frame of September 7th for that. We are getting further clarification on this particular date, and we'll share more information as we have that. So again, just a reminder that the last day to approve time cards for LifeQuest employees, so individuals who have agency with choice through LifeQuest, will be in early September. And then the LifeQuest payday will follow that time card submission as well. So more to come and clarification included around those two items in September. But again, this timeline now applies specifically to LifeQuest agency with choice enrollees and people that are new to Family Support 360 who don't yet have an agency with choice vendor. So again, we're doing a pilot to test the sign-up process, and that starts on July 15th. And then Consumer Direct South Dakota enrollment starts on July 22nd already. So again, important dates to remember: July 22nd, very important. That's the beginning enrollment with Consumer Direct South Dakota. And again, the people that will enroll starting July 22nd are people with LifeQuest now and people new to Family Support 360. So you and your employees will need to enroll with Consumer Direct South Dakota. And the Consumer Direct team is going to send instructions to you on how to enroll. The other thing to remember is you'll stop managing your employees through LifeQuest starting on August 24th. So some things that you can do now, if you can please mark the email address that you see there as a safe sender to begin receiving information directly from Consumer Direct. Again, info.cdsd@consumerdirectcare.com is the email that you're going to want to watch for. Also, your family support coordinator is going to reach out to you with more information. You'll want to make sure that your family support coordinator has the most up-to-date contact information for you. And this includes email address, mailing address, and phone number. That's going to be very important to make sure that that information gets passed on correctly to the team at Consumer Direct. The other thing that you're going to want to think about is your current employees and who you'd like to rehire. Because again, they're going to have to go through the rehire process and enroll with Consumer Direct. And so there will be components of typical human resource or employment procedures that they will have to complete with Consumer Direct. So a couple of things that you can be mindful of for those employees is to ensure that they have acceptable identification documents that are required to complete the I-9. That's an Internal Revenue Service form. And so examples of that are a passport, social security card, driver's license, or a Native American tribal document. Any of those will work as an acceptable identification for that form. The other thing to think through is needing to have a voided or blank check or direct deposit information if your employees would like their paycheck deposited directly into their bank account. So there's going to be more information provided from Consumer Direct South Dakota as well as from the Division of Developmental Disabilities. So please be on the lookout in your email. We'll also continue to provide updates on the Agency with Choice website. And also Consumer Direct has established a South Dakota specific website as well. So consumerdirectsd.com. You can check that website out for specific Consumer Direct South Dakota updates as well. And Ben has been putting all of that in the chat. So if you want to copy any of that information, you can copy and paste it directly from the chat and keep that in a place that makes sense for you. So you can come back and reference that as well. Thanks, Ben. So over the next few weeks, there will be transition support available to you. Specifically, Consumer Direct has carved out a very thorough and intentional support structure over the next couple of weeks. And that's going to include online, phone, and in-person support. So you'll see it already starting this month, the ability to request support kind of on demand through phone, email, and then there's also an info box, and you can contact Consumer Direct South Dakota directly through that email, phone, or info box. And then starting towards the end of July and into August, there will be online webinars. So there will be a weekly enrollment webinar, which is going to be a live training on how to complete the enrollment packets. And again, Consumer Direct is going to be leading this work as well. So you'll have the Consumer Direct team as your resource through those trainings. In addition to the weekly enrollment webinar, Consumer Direct is going to be hosting a weekly payroll and time entry webinar. And this is going to be a live training on how to use the Consumer Direct South Dakota time entry and approval system. So these will kick off at the end of the month and go through early September. Again, those are online live training around enrollment, payroll, and time entry. In addition to those 3 items of transition support, Consumer Direct's actually also going to be in South Dakota, and they are going to be joining us for some town hall meetings that we're going to do on a regional basis. And so you'll be able to join us in person to meet the Consumer Direct team in person. The Consumer Direct team is also going to help you complete all of your enrollment paperwork at that time. And that will be scheduled in early August. So more to come on that, and we'll be sure to get those dates out. And then lastly, Consumer Direct is going to offer in-person office hours starting in August. And this will be your opportunity to reach out directly to the Consumer Direct South Dakota team to help answer any questions that you might have, and also to provide you in-person support wherever it's needed. And so we're really excited about the ability to have such an intentional support structure as we transition to Consumer Direct. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to Janessa, so you can hear from the Consumer Direct team around more information on transition.
Yeah, thanks, Joey. We do want to make sure that as you're going through this transition, you can reach us with whatever questions you may have, and that we can provide support at a multitude of levels. So if you do best to make a telephone call, we have that option, as well as email. We're going to have virtual and live webinars, as well as materials on our website that you can follow step by step. And then also that in-person, more specific support as it's needed. We have located an office space in Sioux Falls, so we're excited to get that up and going in July. And then, as I said earlier, we are hiring program coordinators throughout the state to provide that local support as well. So really, we want to do a method that is just really comfortable for you or the families that you support. So we've structured in a way that there are lots of different options. Our systems can be completely self-service if that's what works best. And we'll be sending out information, we'll be sending out materials on how to get through each step of the onboarding and of the hiring of employees. Do you want to skip to that next slide? Thank you. And so it can be completely self-service if you're someone that is technologically savvy, has a very busy schedule, you can choose that option. We'll have remote options where you can reach us by email and telephone. And then Joey talked through some of the instructor-led webinars that we'll have, as well as office hours and times throughout the week that you can just call in and ask all of your questions. You certainly don't have to wait for those webinars either. You can give us a call at any time during business hours, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and we'll be able to support you. If it's easier just to send an email, our info box is up and running, and we'll get back to you through that mode of communication as well. Then we also have in-person support. So we will be traveling through and doing those office hours and town halls throughout South Dakota and making sure that we communicate those if you would like to come see us in person. And those will be to support any of your onboarding needs, your hiring of employees, or if you want that one-to-one support training on how to use our EVV system or our portal. So I want to talk a little bit further about program coordinators. And in some of the conversations that we have, we know that the terminology is similar with family support coordinators. So we want to be very, very clear that we know that you all have a relationship with family support coordinators or as a coordinator with your families, and that will not be changing. Consumer Direct is not absorbing that role in any way, but we want to be a partner and we want to support you to get your services at home or to help your families get those services at home. So we see it as working closely together with those family support coordinators and with families. So just to lay out some of the things that our program coordinators will be helping with is the participant enrollment paperwork, the employee hiring, any time entry questions or pay questions, or any of the utilization reports or how to access those reports, as well as with compliance with the program rules. We'll pause there for just a moment. Are there any questions to this point? All right. Joey touched on this as well, but things that you could be doing to help prepare for an easy transition is making sure that all of your contact information is up to date. We'll be communicating with you through email primarily, so be watching your emails for upcoming communications. There'll be instructions and steps, as well as information as how to communicate with us, when our office hours are, when our town halls and trainings are, all sorts of those things. As an employee, make sure that you have acceptable identification available because you will be filling out a new hire packet, which includes that I-9. So, for example, if you have a US passport, that is sufficient. If you have different forms of ID, like a state ID or a driver's license, then the I-9 does require multiple IDs. So we would need two, including Social Security card, and there's a list that's attached here that we can go over in just a bit, but make sure that you know where those are at and you have them available to complete that packet. If you do want your paycheck directly deposited into a current account, make sure that you have a voided or blank check for us so that we can get that processed for you. However, we do also have an option if you're not interested in that. You can sign up for a pay card and we can deposit your checks directly on that pay card. You also have the option to issue yourself a paper check if that's preferable off of that pay card. So what can you expect from us? Very soon you'll be getting a welcome letter from Consumer Direct South Dakota, and then you will need to complete the enrollment packets through a process called DocuSign, which allows you to do that remotely if you would like. And we'll outline all of those instructions in your welcome letter with specific steps and then helping guides on our website as well. We will be running background checks on all employees after they complete their enrollment packet. And then once those enrollment packets are completed, you'll be able to register for our online portal, which is Direct My Care. So to provide a little bit more clarity there, we have an app that employees can download on their phone called Care Attend, and that will be where they clock in and clock out. But we also have a tool and resource called Direct My Care, where time can be corrected, Designated representatives can see that time and approve it. Participants can see the time. It directly links employees to their pay stubs or W-2s and just has a wealth of information and reporting options available. There will also be an opportunity as you get enrolled and all set up in our system to go in and play around on those applications that I just talked about and submit a test shift. And then your participant or designated representative can go in and approve that time as well to really get a feel for that system before we go live on August 25th.
Hi, this is Valerie Hoosby. I'm sorry to jump in here. I just had a question. You said that you're looking for people that are interested in actually becoming employees with you all and signing on with you all. What would that look like as far as would the hours be flexible? Things like that? Would we do all of our work remotely? What would that look like as an employee?
Great question. Hours would typically be during business hours, which is Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Because we are hiring throughout the state and our office is located in Sioux Falls, the positions fall under a hybrid category, which means that some of the work would be remote. There will be some trainings and different educational things that happen in our Sioux Falls office or potentially across the state. And then there would be some travel with meeting our new enrolled participants and doing their initial onboarding. Did that help answer your question?
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm a pediatric nurse by trade and I do home care for little ones that have pretty severe medical conditions like my sons, and I do PRN work, which means as needed. And I was just curious to kind of see what the position with y'all would look like and what the criteria was. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Feel free to reach out to us if you have any other questions, and thanks for all you do.
Janessa, this is Derek Smith, by the way, from South Dakota. As you may know, can you explain the app for when the employees for an app to download to our like phones like that? So in case if they want to clock in or out, would you get the like so we know on the chat of what app that we should download?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the time card or like that?
Yeah, Derek, thanks for your question. I can post the name of it in the chat, but I want to be clear that until you are enrolled and complete a new packet, you wouldn't be able to access that app. So it is not recommended that you download it yet. And when the time comes that you should download that app, we'll provide very specific instructions about that initial sign on and how to validate your information. But I will post the name of it in the chat just so you have the name. But again, please wait to download it until you receive that instruction.
Got it. Thanks. I just want to make sure. Thanks.
Yeah, you bet. Any other questions?
Joey and Janessa, there are a couple of questions in the Menti that I can read out related to Consumer Direct. So first, is there a limit to the number of providers and employees one person can enroll?
No. Nope.
Great. And then secondly, would the new agency take a percentage of the funds like Acumen does? With the new agency, would providers be limited to 20 hours a week?
You want me to take that one, Janessa?
Sure.
Okay, so with the Consumer Direct agency, the current limit of part-time employment at that 20 hours does not exist. So when you transition over to Consumer Direct, and of course, everyone with LifeQuest is in the first group, you would no longer have that part-time limit. And so then as the second transition occurs, again, that limit will be lifted as you enroll and begin services, agency with choice services through Consumer Direct. And then, Jessa, I don't know if you had the opportunity to share the provider directory update, because I think that's extremely exciting for us in South Dakota, as that is a new service as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It is something that we are working on and customizing to South Dakota. But the provider directory is an added tool or resource. You do not have to use it, but it is available for you if you would like it. And essentially, you create a little profile as a caregiver, and then you can go on as a participant of services and find caregivers in your area if you are needing some additional support for your services. Caregivers are also able to find participants, and it's kind of it's kind of like a dating site, if you will, but for home care services, where we can connect people in their geographic areas to make sure that they're getting the most services to support their success at home.
Thanks, Janessa. There is another question in the chat too, that I think you might be able to help answer. Specifically, if one provider works with multiple participants, do they need to submit an application for each participant or just one application packet to Consumer Direct South Dakota?
That is a great question. And is Carrie on? Carrie, can you speak to that, or Maxine?
Yeah, hi, this is Maxine Hyraft, also with Consumer Direct. Typically, it's one enrollment, like one full enrollment packet to get you connected with Consumer Direct, but there might be a handful of forms that we have you fill out specific to each client. So if you're in that category, we'll work with you to fill out the necessary paperwork for each individual client, but I don't expect that it would be entire packets for each client.
Excellent. Thank you, Maxine. And as an example, we talked about the need to run a background check. If you're working for multiple people, we wouldn't have to rerun that same background check for every participant you work for. And some forms will be similar, but there are uniquely identified forms that we would have to fill out. So it'd just be a portion of that packet.
Thank you both. And then I see we have one question. I'm not sure if it's been answered, but we'll visit it and make sure that it does get answered now. The question was specific to the state, Janessa and Maxine. So the question is, if you're in the second group but cannot hire a new provider because the agency with choice has stopped allowing new providers, are you able to enroll with the first group? And at this point, again, our priority group is those who are going to be transitioning away from LifeQuest, and anyone new to Family Support 360 who don't yet have services. And again, this is an effort to ensure that there is limited disruption to those first folks in the first priority group who are impacted right now by the change that's occurring. But as we get everybody that's in this first group enrolled, we'll be sure to send updates and communicate in town halls such as this, that second wave of transition as well, which will include the rest of the agency with choice providers. So more to come on that. Shivani, I don't know if you're seeing anything else in Menti right now. Okay.
Nothing right now.
All right. Any other questions before we move on? All right. I just want to relay that it is very important for us to help each of you be successful with this transition and to remove any barriers you may have to the transition. So again, our website is posted where we'll keep up-to-date information. I know DDD is keeping very up-to-date information as well. We wanted to share what our logo looks like as we start sending out communications. Please make sure that you are flagging those to stay in your inbox and not as junk and as a safe sender. You can email us at any time to that info@consumerdirectcare.com, and we'll do our very best to answer any questions that you have. And we are just so grateful to be partnered and that you selected us to come into your state and to help support South Dakota residents at home.
Janessa. We do have one comment, not a specific question, but a comment that I think is worth noting, and I appreciate sharing it as well, Brenda. So thank you. The comment is about the variety of support that's being offered to participants and families. Lots of good options for transition support. And so again, thank you to the Consumer Direct team for having that very intentional options for how to help us transition at this time. So thanks
Absolutely.
again to you all.
Yeah, thank you for your comment, Brenda. As many of you know, I learn differently than Joey learns, than Brenda learns. And so we want to make sure that we have the tools and resources for each of you to be successful in whichever way is beneficial for you.
Thanks, Janessa. So Ben did also share, if you're watching the chat, all the contact information for Consumer Direct Care Network South Dakota has been placed in the chat. Again, if you want to copy that from there, you'll be able to access the phone number, the email, and also the South Dakota specific website to reference as you need as well. So thanks for doing that, Ben. There is one question, Janessa. Would the directory for respite be limited to family support, or will it be shared with strengthening families and shared living? Oh, maybe that's more for South Dakota. So at this point, the directory right now will be specific to waiver participants. And so again, strengthening families is a non-waiver service, and shared living is on the choices waiver, is a residential service on the choices waiver. So the immediate first group will be specific for self-directed services with Family Support 360. And then there's another question. The person had to step away, and so just wanted to know if they missed the question around 20 hours. And so, Deanne, we did visit just briefly, but I'm happy to restate it. As people move to Consumer Direct South Dakota, the current part-time 20-hour limit will not be a part of the Consumer Direct service. And so that will not be an issue with Consumer Direct South Dakota. And then there's a question about the portion of the budget, and that's one item that we are following up on. I'm thinking that maybe this is referred to like employment tax type question, Deanne. So we are following up to confirm how that looks. So hopefully that answers your question. More to come on that even in the coming days.
And Joey, is that question specific to common law? I heard Acumen mentioned both last night and today. So I think that's a common law question. Is that right?
I believe it is a common law question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will follow up and get that information.
Since we don't yet have all of that for Consumer Direct common law, more to come on that, Deanne. So thank you. Any other questions either for the Consumer Direct South Dakota team or for the Division of Developmental Disabilities? And if you want to ask anonymously, please remember that you can use the Menti if you'd like to ask your question in an anonymous way. Otherwise, the chat's perfect as well. We're monitoring both of those. Thanks, Ben. Ben just put the QR code to the Menti poll in the chat as well, if you do want to ask a question there. And then another new question has come into the chat. As someone new to family support who doesn't yet have providers, how does that work with the new enrollment process? So for you being new to family support and not yet having an agency with choice vendor, you would be a part of this first transition group. Because again, the first transition group is for the Family Support 360 waiver participants who are using LifeQuest for agency with choice. or people who are new to services who do not yet have agency with choice established. So if you are in either of those two groups, you are in this first group. Enrollment starts July 22nd. So Lori, I hope that helps to answer your question. And again, we've been meeting with family support coordinators on a weekly basis. Obviously with the holiday, we're not going to be meeting with them this week, but we will next week, and we'll make sure that additional information is shared with coordinators so they feel confident in assisting through this first transition group as well. Anything in the Menti, Shivani? No, okay. Well, as I said, we were very excited about being able to share the update, and then of course to also have our partners at Consumer Direct join us today. We have a lot of work ahead of us, but we're very, very excited to be at this point. And again, key dates to remember. There is a pilot group that's going to be testing the enrollment process starting on July 15th. Then everyone who is affiliated right now in the first group, meaning LifeQuest, or people who are new to family support and don't yet have a vendor, your enrollment process is going to be starting on July 22nd. And so you'll want to be watching your emails from Consumer Direct. They're going to be sending information about that enrollment. And then you'll have the opportunity to meet in person with them. You'll also have the opportunity to participate in online live trainings as well. So lots of good and exciting things happening. For those of you in the second group, we will be identifying and communicating that second group process as soon as possible. Again, our priority right now is folks who are impacted by the end of service at LifeQuest, as well as those who don't yet have an agency with choice vendor. As soon as we have everybody enrolled with Consumer Direct in this first group, we will begin communicating and establishing timelines for that second group. We have a couple different comments in the chat as well. Specifically, the agency with choice option looks great. Thanks for the work that has been put in to make this happen. And Travis, we appreciate that comment. Certainly many of you on this call have helped us to get here today, and we very much appreciate all of the stakeholder feedback. We have used that from coordinators to our family work group, which I know some of you are members of, to help us to move self-direction in the right direction, if you will, in South Dakota, again, with the goal of having a stable and sustainable solution for people and families. And so appreciate that comment. There's a couple other comments. Since current agency with choice are not signing up new caregivers, do we still need to wait, or can we sign up a new care provider with the first group? So again, the first group to enroll with Consumer Direct is LifeQuest. Anybody who currently has agency with choice with LifeQuest or are new to Family Support 360 waivers and do not yet have an agency with choice vendor. So if you are in one of those two groups, you are the first group to enroll, which begins July 22nd. Other folks will fall in that second group of transition enrollment, and more information will come as soon as we have that. And then we have another comment about the enrollment phases in groups and appreciating the clarity with the dates and communication about that process as well. And again, we're committed to doing that. We've been trying to communicate in multiple different ways with you all, so that whether it's email, you're checking the agency with choice website, you're hearing from coordinators who, again, we meet with on a weekly basis, that you're getting that information very timely. We are trying to be very transparent and have very clear communication. So we appreciate that that's recognized in this work as well. Chris has a question. What if a family has a subcontract for respite care, but hours are very limited and have no agency with choice? Can they sign up with the first group? So Chris, that would be, I would recommend reaching out directly to Cade with that specific question. And we can do specific follow-up on that situation.
There's a comment in the chat as well, or sorry, in the Menti, Joey.
Okay.
Will FSCs be sent the enrollment paperwork to look through to familiarize ourselves with?
I'm going to let Janessa answer that for clarity as well.
Yeah, so our current plan is to send that out to participants or their designated representatives, but we can certainly work with the family support coordinators to look through it as well. I just don't want to set the expectation that it's the family support coordinator that will be responsible for walking them through and helping them fill out forms, because we're certainly here to support that effort.
Thanks, Janessa. And to add on to that, specifically that Consumer Direct Program Coordinator will be the resource for families. Of course, coordinators continue to be, but really when it relates to anything employment specific, we're going to want those questions to go directly to Consumer Direct as much as possible. Shivani, anything else in the Menti?
Nope.
Okay. Well, as I know we're ending our time, just again, a reminder that if you haven't yet signed up for emails or the listserv from the Division of Developmental Disabilities, please do so. You can sign up by going to this website link or again, using your smartphone and turning your camera app on. Hovering over that QR code will take you right to the page that you would need to visit to sign up for the emails or the listserv, if you will, that comes directly from the Division of Developmental Disabilities. And so this gives us a new way to communicate directly with families and participants of the waiver services that we offer at the division. And is something we've been working to strengthen over the last several months. And so if you are not yet receiving those emails and you would like to, again, please sign up. And then you'll start to receive information directly from us around lots of different things, but most importantly right now, agency with choice and those changes. So I'd encourage you to sign up if you have not yet. So I'm not seeing anything in the chat, but I am happy to hang on the line. And I know there's a few others that will as well for any additional questions that might come up either through the chat or the Menti. If you've got to run, I understand that. We sure appreciate you spending what for most of you might have been your lunch with us today. We also had this conversation last evening as well. And so a couple different opportunities to visit with us, but certainly I know that everyone is extremely busy and you didn't have to be here, but we certainly appreciate that you joined us and that you've been very active in helping us to steer the direction of self-direction as we move forward. So again, wholeheartedly from me, thank you so much for joining us today. And this will not be the only time you see this information. There will be more updates as we have them. And a lot of great and exciting things happening, again, with the goal of having limited disruption while bringing a stable and sustainable solution to self-direction in the Family Support 360 waiver. So thank you so much. Again, myself and a few others will hang on the line if there's any other questions, but if you have to run, again, thank you so much for joining us today.